you so much. Good morning, everyone. Yes, 100% correct. It is Vyaksha Mohabir. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining today and thank you for having me here. I think before I begin, let me briefly explain who I am representing and what work we do. I work for GIZ, that's the German Development Corporation. GIZ is an international organization that works on behalf of the German federal government and partners with different governments around the world to provide technical expertise, research, training, and pilot projects that help countries develop sustainably. In South Africa, we work closely with the Department of Electricity and Energy, and other key government departments and different communities on topics such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, climate change, and the more recently, the green hydrogen and battery value chain topics. And our goal is really to help build a strong, inclusive, and low carbon economy, not by replacing local institutions, but rather strengthening them and supporting local capabilities. I don't have a presentation. Just to ensure that I don't go over time. And also with the green economy sector, specifically the energy sector, it can be very technical. So I'm trying not to be too technical and really give you a highlight of what the opportunities lie in the energy sector and the green economy. And it's important to note as I speak that you do not have to be an engineer, you do not have to have any technical expertise to take advantage of some of the opportunities that are available to you. So with that in context, I want to talk to you today about what the green economy means for South Africa and where the practical opportunities lie for young entrepreneurs like yourself. So like I said, it's not about giving you a technical lecture. It's really about giving you a clear picture of how the space is changing and where you can realistically participate. To start, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the word the just transition. So I'll explain to you what the just transition is because this sits at the core of South Africa's long-term energy plans. For many decades, our country has relied heavily on coal, not only for electricity, but also for employment in certain towns. I mean, I come from one of the towns in northern KwaZulu-Natal that was a coal mining town, and a lot of the mines have closed down, leaving me, well, not me, leaving my family around me, family and friends without jobs, and the economy collapsed. So as the world moves towards cleaner forms of energy, coal will gradually play a smaller role. So the just transition is the plan to manage that shift in a responsible and fair way. It includes things like retraining workers, supporting coal-dependent communities, developing new industries, and preventing economic decline in regions that rely heavily on mining. So the idea is simple. So we don't want to shut. We need to ensure that when we shut one door, we need to start preparing another. And one of the most important areas currently shaping South Africa's energy and industrial future is green hydrogen. And I know hydrogen can sound very scientific and technical, but it's simply a clean fuel that we produce with no pollution, and really only water vapor comes out of this. And why we call it green hydrogen, it's green. There's different colors of hydrogen, but green hydrogen refers to us making it purely from renewable energy. So hydrogen is basically taking water and splitting the water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen using technologies called an electrolyzer. And this hydrogen fuel is important because in some of the industries like steel making, heavy trucking, shipping, and even chemicals and fertilizers, within these industries, we cannot easily switch to electricity. So we need something cleaner to decarbonize. And so hydrogen is one of the strongest global options that's pretty much trending at the moment. So why why hydrogen? Specifically in the South African context, South Africa is well placed to take advantage of the shift. Our country has some of the best solar and wind resources, and as I mentioned just now, in order to make green hydrogen, it has to be produced from renewable and solar. So this makes green hydrogen production a little cheaper in South Africa as compared to other places around the world. And another element, and I know our previous speakers have also spoken to this, is that we have some of the key critical raw materials or key minerals in South Africa, like platinum, manganese, nickel, chromium, and these are needed to make the equipment used in some of these hydrogen technologies as well as batteries. So batteries are important not just for electric vehicles, but also for storing energy or electricity that is made from renewable energy. So we have the critical raw materials, specifically platinum. Platinum goes into these electrolyzers and fuel cells, and manganese as well is essential for the battery value chain. We also have nickel and chromium, which are used in special steels and alloys that make hydrogen equipment strong and durable. So we did a recent study, which I will pop the link into the chat. And in fact, I'll pop all the resources that we've developed, some focusing on localization as well and local beneficiation. So a recent study we completed looked closely at how these minerals support the green hydrogen economy in South Africa. And the findings confirmed that South Africa has a genuine competitive advantage, but only if we move past simply exporting raw minerals. I often call it the China model. We export these raw materials to China and then we buy the product back, or bring the product back into South Africa. So there's a need for us to add value addition to beneficiate these raw materials, because the real economic value lies in processing these materials locally, manufacturing components, and developing services that support hydrogen and battery projects and other green economy topics in South Africa, like renewable energy. So that's where young entrepreneurs can can become quite important. This also means that future hydrogen production zones or industrial hubs will rely heavily on local suppliers. Already in the industry, if you go to some of the development banks to get capital and funding, they focus, there's an important element of local entrepreneurs and small businesses and local employment, especially for the youth and women in the country. So they will need small businesses that can provide everything from basic tools to advanced support services. In countries that are already scaling up hydrogen and batteries and renewable energy, the sector grew fastest from where your small and medium enterprises were supported as early as possible in these upcoming industries. And so South Africa plans to take the same approach, and young entrepreneurs who position themselves will now have a better chance of entering these supply chains. Another useful point to mention is funding. So, like I said, many clean energy projects attract local and international financing, but these funds often come with requirements such as local suppliers, creating jobs, or providing community benefits. Because a lot of the renewable energy projects, the green hydrogen projects, or even where there's proposed plans to beneficiate materials or minerals for the battery value chain, these are often built around communities. And so your development banks and your project developers are really looking to partner with local suppliers and ensure that the jobs are created locally. So it's important that businesses are formally registered, organized, and reliable, to secure some of these contracts when these opportunities arise. So maybe just to break down what this means in practice, using a hydrogen example, before a green hydrogen project even begins, right? Construction companies need things like environmental studies, water use plans, community consultations, mapping, and even logistics. And these activities rely on your smaller businesses in environmental services and logistics and digital mapping and even communication support. To undertake these activities during the project preparation or project before even the construction starts. And then you get to the next phase during construction where the demand becomes more varied. There's work for contractors like welders, plumbers, electricians, drivers, equipment suppliers. At the same time, when construction takes place, there's also everyday services that come into to play, like your catering, cleaning, accommodation, and transport becomes very essential. So these are roles that don't require just general green economy expertise or energy expertise. So you don't have to be an engineer to be part of the green economy value chain. They just require reliability and the ability to meet project needs. So once these facilities are running, there's also long-term demand for packaging suppliers, lab testing, maintenance teams, also quality control specialists, and a very important gap that we have now are training providers. So many small businesses build stable income streams through these type of support functions. Then another buzzword that's being used as well alongside renewable energy is what they call the circular economy. So the circular economy is basically ensuring that recycling and recovering of materials take place at every step of the value chain to reduce waste. So there's a major gap in South Africa. So we often speak about cradle to grave for a project, for a product, but there's a need for us to ensure that when we manage a product, we look at it from cradle to cradle, from a cradle to cradle approach. So really shifting away from your linear model to a more circular model. So an example of this is battery recycling. So again, the previous speaker spoke about the battery value chain as well, and there's a huge demand for batteries, lithium batteries in South Africa, for example, for EVs as well as battery energy storage. But what happens to these batteries once they are done? So there's a need for us to recycle these batteries and scrap, as well as scrap metal recovery, as well as e-waste processing, and there's a need to handle this waste responsibly. So there's a huge recycling gap in South Africa, and these activities need logistic companies to put together sorting sites and safety professionals and small processing units. So this is an area with strong potential for new entrepreneurs. I know we often see the recycling guys on pulling those big carts on the street, the informal recyclers, and they play a major role in the circular economy. And that's just one of the examples in South Africa where it gets as basic as that, as sorting your materials for recycling purposes. Then we also have digital services in the green economy, which is becoming more and more increasingly important as technology is improving, because projects often require things like drone surveys and GIS mapping. So GIS mapping is your geological information system mapping, monitoring apps, and online training tools. And these kind of services usually come from, your younger tech-savvy small businesses rather than your large corporations. So all of this connects to the importance of buying local. I think, it's important to iterate that a strong economy can't be built on imported services alone. Local suppliers create jobs and they help keep value in the country. So organizations like the National Empowerment Fund and Proudly South African support the shift by helping entrepreneurs access resources and visibility. So the more we the more we build local supply chains, the stronger and more stable our economy becomes. So if you try to understand where we fit, you don't need to be highly technical to participate in the green economy. What you need is really, clear understanding of where the services, of the services that major projects rely on, and a willingness to develop those capabilities, and also to be more aware of what exists in the green economy or where the gaps are in the green economy, because the sector supports everything from hospitality to construction to digital design to health and safety. So your entry point depends on your skills and your interests. So as South Africa moves towards, cleaner energy, it's not really, I know we often talk about clean energy, renewable energy, the green economy, and we feel like it's far away, but it's not a far off idea. It's already shaping industries, it's already changing supply chains and creating concrete business needs. The key is recognizing these needs early and preparing to meet them. because different skills, different backgrounds, and different types of businesses can all find space in what we call the just transition. And I will stop there from my side. Unfortunately, I will have to jump out after the session, but I will drop my email address as well as the link to the resources we have under the Green Hydrogen Program, which focuses on a lot of the studies that we do, including local beneficiation as well as yeah, and localization of products in the green hydrogen sector. So thank you so much, and thank you for the organizing team for having me here as well.